We're going to create a function that will display or print a linked list, and I will simplify the code for this function using some animation so that you're able to visualize and most importantly to understand how the code works. I will also show you the code and explain it as we continue to build our linked list project. In this video, I will show you how to print a linked list. It is very easy. And after this video, you'll be able to write the linked list print function. And I'll show you what the code does using some animation. And then I'll show you the actual code for printing the linked list as we'll test it in our project. The goal of this video is to create a function that will print our linked list, printing the values of the nodes in the order in which they were added, starting at the head. So if we have an example linked list with the nodes with values 1, 3, 5, 7, and 11, and after we've created a function and we can call it on our linked list, it should print out the values 1, 3, 5, 7, and 11 in that order. And also remember that we will also see this in action when we run our linked list project with the complete code in this video. Before we dive into the code for the print function, let's revisit what we covered in the introduction to the linked list video, which I will link down in the video description along with other linked list videos. So we said that a node of a linked list can hold data to be stored in the next point, which points to the next node. So when creating a node using a struct or a class, and we decided to use a struct, we will define the integer data variable and the next node point. And we then create a constructor, because every time we create a node, we want to initialize the data variable as well as the next point, so that we don't have to do it manually in our functions. And the constructor takes in an integer value, which will be the data we want to store. It will set it to the data variable we declared, and finally set the next node pointer to null as it is pointing to nothing. And that's it for the revision. For more on the introduction, you can watch the whole video. If you watch the previous videos, you have seen that I write a function and have it call another function. So we'll create a function, print linked list function. So we'll create the print linked list function. And the print linked list function will only call the second function. And this function will take in a head node pointer. Since this function takes in a node pointer, the pointer ptr will be pointing to the head node. So in line 2, if the pointer is not null, or if we have nodes in our linked list, and if that's the case, like in our example, we proceed to line 3, a while loop which checks if the next point of the node ptr is pointing is not null. And in our example, the node with the value of 1 is pointing to another node. So we enter the while loop and we print out the value, which is 1, and then advance the pointer ptr to the next node. And now we're pointing to the second node. And since it is pointing to another node, or its next pointer is pointing to another node, we are still in the while loop and we print out the value of the node, which is 3. And then advance the pointer ptr to the next node, the third node. Its next pointer is also pointing to a node, so we are still in the while loop. Therefore, we print out the value of the node, which is 5. And then we advance the pointer ptr to point to the next node, the fourth node. It is also pointing to a node, so we print out its value 7 and advance the pointer ptr to point to the next node. But the last node has its next pointer pointing to null, so we exit the while loop. And the statement after the while loop just prints out the value of the node ptr is pointing at, which is the last node with the value of 11. And we've just printed out the linked list. Now in a moment I will show you how to use this code in an actual linked list project. So we can test the add node functions we created in the previous video. And now let's move on to the project files so we can run our program. We define the print function prototype in the header file, and in the private section of the class, define the second print function that only takes in a node pointer. In the linklist.ccp file, define the first function, and inside the function we only want to call the print linklist1 function and pass in the head pointer. For the print linklist1, if the head pointer is not null, if we have nodes in the list, we want to go through the linked list. So while the next pointer of the node we are currently visiting is not null, print out its value and then go and advance the pointer PTR to point at the next node. And then advance the pointer PTR to point at the next node. And when we find a node with its next pointer pointing to null, that's the last node, and we exit the while loop and print out its value. Else, see out the list is empty. We can now test the function in the main.ccp file by calling it on the linked list, and after we compile the code. It does not output as we expected, so we need to go back and check where we made a mistake in the add node to front. And the add node to front works, so we need to check the other add node functions. Looking at the add node to back function, in the if statement, we have a single equal sign. And I should have written 2 equal sign. And if we compile the program again, it prints out the values. But I would like to print out the values in one line, so we need to change something in the print linked list 1. Instead of the end line when outputting the values, let's use an empty string. And if we compile and output again, we get the values in the linked list. And that's it for the print function. And now that we have seen our linked list, we can move on to discuss deleting nodes from our linked list. And I'll be discussing 3 types of delete functions. And now please take just only 10 seconds to click the subscribe button and the bell next to it, because it helps me to grow this channel. And then you won't miss any videos that might help you in the near future. And like this video if you found it interesting. Thanks for staying with me until now. You can support me by checking out my Patreon page. The link is in the description. And welcome to ACoreFundamentals.